Okay, g'day. Alright, it's another Volkswagen update. I finally got this bull bar how I wanted it. So there was a bit of trial and error. I did a couple of variations that I wasn't happy with, so I cut them off and started again. Alright, I've just managed to get some aluminium plate. It's come from the scrapyard. And yeah, I painted all the back of the bull bar, and I painted a bit on the front of the plate too. I've had to mould it down over here, just these bars that you can't see at the moment, the extension of these, because it was flush at the front at the bottom and flush at the back at the top. So yeah, as I said, I had to bend it in. What I used, I just clamped it in place. Actually, I put a couple of Tech screws where these rivets are now to hold it together. Also found I've actually had to cut these off and redo them, and I'll cut too much off the back of it, but anyway, we'll get away with it. It's out of view, I'm not going to bother too much. Because where I had them, the heads of the bolts were already very close, and once I put this plate on, I couldn't get the bolts in. So I've had to, yeah, put it back on the car. I had to weld extend these up a bit, and then put it back on the car, redo all the holes. And I'm glad I did put it back on the car, because I found that the whole thing had actually buckled more on one side than the other. And if it had buckled sort of back towards the car a little bit, it probably wouldn't have mattered, because you know the car's that little bit rounded anyway. But when it buckles forward, yeah, it just, yeah, it did not look right. So I've had to cut through the pipes, yeah, on the outside, just here and here. I don't know if that side I cut, one of the sides. Yeah, pull it back in, weld it up again. So yeah, I've also extended these out a bit. Same issue in that, you know, wouldn't have got the nuts on the back of the driving lights. They're still got to be cleaned up a little bit with the file. Looking at that, I should have done that before I put the plate on, because I've made it hard for myself now, because the plate's going to stop me pushing the file in there. I may even have to knock that down a bit. There still might not be enough clearance for the bolts. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. Okay, these rivets, they're 6mm rivet, or 5mm rivet, I should say. And I used a lot of these in my roof, so I bought this long handle rivet gun quite a while back. It's quite expensive. And the other thing I've done is I've got some silicone, which I've put away now, which is a paintable silicone, in case there's any residue left on there. I don't want to interfere with the paint. And I've got, yeah, we'll say if that was that's thinness, but if that was the glue, you know, put a bubble out there and you just wind it around the top of it, and then you wind it into the hole, and it seals all the hole up. That way you're not going to have it filling up with water and rusting out. This, I showed you before, this is a sauce bottle. This has had thinners in it for 5 to 10 years, and I don't know how long it's been in there now. You know, I may keep topping it up, but it's great. Doesn't eat through it, doesn't leak, you can seal it, you know. And this is what I've been. Just square a little bit out, as much as you need. Do it up again, sealed. And yeah, that was to wipe the excess silicone off the rivets. Yeah. And I've also had to knock it down a few places. I've got a few chisels, and I've got one that I've blunted for the purpose of doing things like that. I mean, you don't want to be cutting it, so you want a blunt chisel just for knocking things down. I'll get all this stuff off. Also, clamp it down wherever possible, and not only holds it in place, but if it's not clamped, you get all the shavings which build up between the two panels and stop it clamping together. And like the alloy doesn't, well, the steel ones will cause it to go rusty if they stay in there. So if you do get them in between it, you've got to clean them out. This along here I couldn't clamp it. That's why I've got the air hose here to blow them out. But on all these other places, I said you clamp it down. It not only holds it down firmly, but stops this build up of shavings between the panels. Yeah, that's my compressor you can hear in the back. I'm going to turn that off, I don't need it now. Noisy old thing, it's on its last legs. This was something I've learnt through trial and error. Always put a bin handy for your rivet ends, your rivet pins. They're really good tire punchers, so yeah, do not leave them lying on the ground. So that's how she looks, and yes, I've had to putty that bit. So yeah, that's made of 3 different pieces, which is made of 5 different pieces if you count the corner bits, because they're separate, these corner pieces. Yeah, a lot of welding, and as much as you try, it doesn't stay straight. Yeah, that's all got to be rubbed down. It's not that deep, probably at the most, I suppose, be 2 mil at most. But yeah, just to finish it off, that's where the number plate goes. The other thing, which I can't show you, but I'll put the number plate on there, or number plate off this Holden. It's not registered yet. And I marked the holes, and then I drilled out a large 10 mil hole and put a bit of solid rod right through, welded it both sides, ground it off. And after I've sanded this and got it finished, I will then put the number plate back on there, re-drill the holes, not all the way through, and put some 6 mil threads in it. And yeah, so I don't like having nuts on the back of things, and not only that, this is a hollow plate. If you put a nut and bolt, when you do it up, it's going to squish it. It's going to collapse it, so, and it'll come loose. Oh, if you put Nylox, it won't come loose, but you're still going to crush your panel. So yeah, and it's much easier just to over thread straight in it anyway. So yeah, and by doing this, I was originally going to weld some plate up here and put some bar blinkers on it, but I couldn't really find the size I wanted. All the ones I could find were too long, just wouldn't have looked right. But the advantage to having this plate now at the back, there's a good 2 inches there, so I can put just standard round trail blinkers inside there, and they'll come out flush, or close to being flush with the thing. And yeah, considering the headlights are round, the driving lights will be round, they should match in quite well. So anyway, so I'll do a quick update. I've been mostly working on my panel van. That's a brand new quarter panel, and it's caused me a whole lot of stress. I'm really concerned about buckling it, or not getting it right. So, yeah, getting there with that. So, but this has been sitting in here, and it's been getting in the way, and I thought, well, I started this first, I should finish this and then I should have finished it before I even started on that. So yeah, it's time to get this finished. So anyway, next update will be when it's finished. It's getting painted black. And yeah, so the next update will be when I have it on the car, on the vehicle. So, okay, thanks for watching.